you are a successful businesswoman. You've done all the things. You've climbed the corporate ladder, or you have created a profoundly impactful business and had a journey and got partway through and went, why am I still doing this? I used to love this very thing that now appears to only bring me angst. Okay, so if this is you, then hi, my name is Jen. I am the founder of Laughing Lotus Wellness, and what I do is support women that are just like you, super successful, high functioning, got all your ducks in a row, and somehow along the journey, you realize that you're ready to make a transition into something different. You just know that you're being called into a different lane of life, a different venue, showing up in the world in a different way than you have been because it just isn't hitting the mark anymore. And your joy is less, your motivation and inspiration is less, and it's time to make a change. So what I do is I work with women in a one-to-one setting where we take the time to really understand what sets you apart from everybody else. So we're super, super crystal clear about what your purpose is, and it's probably not what you think. And we figure out the next vision, right? The ways that we're going to move you through this period of time to get you to this next piece of life and your journey and what you're going to do and create. And so this is all built on my foundation of over 20 years in clinical social work. And so I really did a very traditional psychotherapy practice for over 20 years. And then I moved into this field of coaching and just this area of passion of mine of supporting women in just exactly this way because I was her. So that's how I got to this space in my life. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about a nugget of wisdom that I think is really, really potent to think about. And that's your worth. As women, one of the things I hear so often, honestly, in my sessions with women and prior to that in my psychotherapy sessions, was women can really struggle, even the women that really appear super confident, that they will fall prey to worthiness and questioning and having self-doubt. And so it is one of those areas that I am very passionate about because it's costing you time. Doubting yourself, wondering about your worth actually is costing you time, it's costing you energy, and it's probably honestly costing you that transition that you know you need to make. So we're gonna have some real talk about worthiness today. So for those of you that are new, I love words and language, and I'm just kind of weird that way. So I redefined worth as this, and it's a mouthful, so just take it and I'll read it twice. Wrapping ourselves in the revolution of our transcendent honoring the gifts we bring. So there is a lot tied into it. It is both very technical, but also very psychological and spiritual in nature. So I'm gonna read it one more time. Worth means wrapping ourselves in the revolution of our transcendent honoring the gifts we bring. It's really about standing in the power of who you are and not losing sight of that, right? It's really knowing that you have a place to take up in this world and that you're essential to the inner workings, right? If it was like a big machine, if you imagine the universe as this big machine, everybody's like a cog in a wheel and it, right? And so everybody and every single thing comes together to really create the optimal experience for all of us to grow and stand in our purpose and legacy. And so imagine, right, if we don't do that, if that worthiness kind of leans in and it really kind of messes with us, that there might be things we end up missing out on. And I'm just like, I don't want anybody to have this experience. So here's some things, the ways that we see it come through. And I just had a potent conversation today with one of my clients, literally, who is so confident and brilliant in her work. And even she, in making a transition right now, moving from one job to another, she's super excited about, is having that imposter syndrome sneak in. She is like, you know, am I good enough to, who am I to think I can go do these things, even if I haven't practiced it in maybe 10, 15 years, or I feel a little rusty, or it's completely new. So what to expect and what do I do if I run into a snag? These are normal things. They really are. And one of the things that makes her so badass that I said to her is, I was like, you're literally like a unicorn. And what I mean by that is she is jumping with a parachute on and it's not inflated yet. She just jumped out of the plane. She made this decision for her life because she knew it was important. And she didn't let all the doubt and that self-sabotaging stuff that we can all do interfere. Now she's in a little bit of she's in the middle of the transition. We're working our way through it. That's what we do. And so I wanted to speak to the heart of even this woman who's super confident, very successful, is having this doubt, right? And so it just sneaks in for all of us. I don't care who you are, I don't care where you are. It just has a way of sneaking its way in there. Let's talk about the ways it might show up. One, avoidance. One of my very favorites is watching women circle the drain. It's what it's probably not a very nice sounding reference, but what I mean is that you can get in a space where, and I know I've done this, I avoid making the transition by finding a million other things to do and a million excuses. We make excuses. I can't because, that won't work because, but what about this? And what about that? And like all of the reasons that it won't work. So there's an incredible amount. Our minds are very powerful places, and they are both the most helpful thing that we can be utilizing, this thing right here between your ears, but also it is your biggest demon. And so learning how to navigate and have a relationship with your own mindset is so prudent and important in this journey, because your mind is going to be the space where the questions come in, right? So avoidance, that's a big one. Procrastination. I hear people have brilliant ideas and then they putter out. We don't take it all the way to the, I'm just making all sorts of jokes in my head, right? We don't take it all the way to the end of the story. We stop kind of just a little bit short, and we give ourselves, again, those excuses. You're going to hear a lot about excuses kind of coming in from me, because I think that that's an area where we will kind of like fall prey. It's like, oh, but there's so many reasons why I shouldn't and couldn't do this thing, right? So I'm going to say not using self-care and boundaries is a big one. And that sounds funny, but when we don't respect our own time, our own energy, our own worthiness, our value, it can be really, really easy to let things go by the wayside. So same ideas, like, right, these are the kind of struggles that I think I commonly hear and see in people. That self-doubt, the self-sabotage. I'm going to do things that get in my way. I have this brilliant idea. I'm super stoked and super fired up. I can't wait to do it, except that I'm going to have all of these little niggling things that will come in, and I'll be sabotaging myself on the way. I don't attend the meetings. I don't reach out to people like I know that I should in order to make good network connections. I'm not asking for support, right? There's all these things that we do, and then we go, see, it doesn't work. See, it doesn't work. We throw up our hands and we go, well, this is just bullshit. No, it's not. Likelihood is that you're giving yourself permission as an out, because that feels safer, right? And so it's like, oh, if I can like pre-think these things and talk myself out of it, then I don't have to do the hard thing. I don't have to do the brave and scary thing. And I want you to stand fully in the power that you have to do those brave and scary things. I think the reward is so great. And I think that's really hard when all of those excuses and self-sabotaging and all those messages come in. It's real easy to get in that whirlwind, to get kind of sucked up into that vortex. And so we want to be able to kind of back ourselves out of that, right? We want the tools to help us do those things. Not investing in yourself. I cannot say this enough. I know you're going to hear me have this messaging all the time. One of the things that I'll see is women are really interested in learning. They're very interested in engaging. They have the idea that they want to do something very potent in the world. Like, they're very dedicated and have a drive, have a vision, and want to take that all the way to the end. And sometimes one of the things that'll stop them is not investing in programming, coaching. I don't care what it is, right? They don't want to invest in themselves. And it's super interesting. Even women with lots of money will sometimes struggle with the same idea. And I don't know if it's, and I think it is, because it's investing in yourself. That is a way to not have worth, to be like, I'm not worth this time, money, energy, programming, whatever it is. And really what it's going to do is it's likely that it will not support you, because that accountability and space holding that happens when we invest in a program, a person, or whatever it might be, that is a game changer, because it's going to hold our feet to the fire, right? So in order to combat some of those things I talked about, the self-sabotaging, the mindset, the excuse making, the avoidance, procrastination, I am going to need to have somebody that's going to call that out for me and be like, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I'm going to tell you something right now. I see what you're doing. I see how you're gently backing out of that grand vision you had, right? That is why having someone in your corner, and you really need more than one person to do this, but having one really solid person that doesn't have an agenda is so crucial to your success, actually. So investing in yourself, super key element to this whole deal. Playing small. Oh my word. I can talk about this till the cows come home. Ooh, I will try not to bore you to tears. This is one of those things that I see women do a lot, is minimize their wisdom, minimize the value they bring, and get into a comfy, cozy, I want you to imagine that I'm wrapped, right? So wrapping ourselves, when I said that what worthiness stands for, worth, right? Wrapping ourselves in the revolution of our transcendent, honoring the gifts that we bring. So we want to imagine that we can tuck into this powerful notion of who we are in the world, who everybody is. If we look around and see worthiness in all the people around us, why don't we do that for ourselves? And I want you to really ask yourself that. If you're a mom, if you are a caregiver, if you are around a lot of people or lead teams, it's so natural for many of us to lean into nurturing and loving and really seeing the value in other people, but we'll dismiss it in ourselves. And so we want to stop that. That's part of a cycle of thinking and experience as women that's like, it's got to end. So that's a piece that I see as a lot of playing small. And I want you to hear this. So there's the last three things are all about where the world needs you to be, okay? So the world needs you. That's why we want you to stop playing small. You're not using your voice. You're not practicing being confident and speaking your truth and asking for what you need. And this is a really important aspect of really achieving your dreams, is going to be asking for what you need and speaking authentically from your voice. In a world full of content coming at us, I mean, let's be really honest. Social media is rampant. Our emails are full of people coming at us wanting to sell us something, wanting to teach us something, right? And so it's very, very loud. And what can happen is we can kind of like shrink it small and stop really sharing because it's so daunting. And it is daunting even for me, and I do this for a living. And still, I'll have to catch myself saying, you're not really truly saying the authentic message you need to send to the world. So the world needs to hear you. So the world needs you. The world needs to hear you. And then this last one, because these are really tucked into purpose and legacy, these last three. Not standing in your power. And what I said is the world needs to feel you. The world needs, when your voice is spoken, that it is articulate and is clear and is full of passion and inspiration, and it's value-laden information that you share in the way that only you can. And so we need that kind of energy, which here is a link to your purpose. Your purpose is much bigger than a role in a task. It's actually an energy. There's one sneak peek. And so we want you to stand in your power because the world needs to feel you, right? Your energy precedes you. And so you're either soft-spoken, sweet, quiet, vulnerable voice, or that outspoken, fiery, passionate, okay? Whatever it is that is your vibe, you deliver it in a way that only you can, that speaks directly into the heart of the person that you want to connect with. And so to me, it is really important to be able to stand in that divine power and energy, that transcendence, right? It's this idea that there's something bigger happening behind the scenes for us in our lives than we even see sometimes. And so that's why I say it's like wrapping ourselves in a big snuggly blanket of all of this wisdom about how we are a gift in the world. And I'm not talking arrogance, right? Women really struggle with this. It's not arrogance. It's the power of confidence. And it's harnessing that to help propel you forward into this next layer of life, this next transition, and definitely in creating and crafting your legacy. You want to have that powerful voice. So those are pieces that I love in terms of thinking in the ways that you might be talking yourself out of living large. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at that list. I want you to go back through them, and I would love to hear from you. Where do you see yourself sometimes not tapping into your value and your worth? Where do these kind of sneak in? Or give me one I didn't even say, because I would love to hear that, right? I'm always grateful for any insight and awareness that you'll bring. So please share that. Now, this next video is going to be about, so what do we do, Jen? I always love introducing an idea, talking about the struggles we might experience, and then bringing you the full on, like, okay, here's some ways that we can actually address this. In the meantime, if this was at all helpful and you listen, you're like, you know what, I could use more of this. You're right, Jen. I could use some support in having my voice, speaking my truth. Then I invite you to head over to my website at laughinglotuswellness.com. I have tons of content and a free gift on there, ripe and ready, waiting for you to go grab anytime. And until then, my friends, I hope to see you next time, but I invite you to go over and grab that free gift on my website, which is again, laughinglotuswellness.com. So until next time, take care.